You ready?
I am ready.
Okay, good. Good morning, and welcome back to Coworking with Iris, where we talk about co-working community. And this is episode 18, and I will be speaking with Carel Talens. And I have just met Carel. Actually, we're broadcasting from his hotel room in Las Vegas, where we are at the Global Co-working Conference. Excuse me, I'm wrong. We're at the Global Workspace Association Conference. Next week, I'll be at the Global Co-working Conference. And so Carel works for a company called Bisner. And Bisner is helping co-working communities connect online as well as they're connecting in real life. And so I wanted to have a conversation with Carel about what co-working companies can do or co-working communities can do to use the Bisner platform to help connect them. Thanks, Carel, for being here, and thanks so much for your patience with all the technical difficulties this morning.
It was a challenge, wasn't it?
Yes.
But thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, wonderful to have you. So, tell us about yourself. What's your co-working story?
It's interesting. It's how long do you have? No. It's great to be here at the Global Workspace Association Conference. This is the first time for me, and I met quite a few other people. It's the first time, and I felt like a newbie, like a first-time middle schooler, right? You walk around, you have no idea what's going on, you don't know anybody, very excited, you want to learn, you want to, explore, and that's how I feel today, like actually these 2 days at the conference. And I'm glad to hear that there are so many people actually at the conference. It's the first time to hear their co-working story. And for instance, one of the guys I talked to was Nick Levine from Verizon, and his experience is just 1 year at the co-working, and same for me. I have a hospitality background. I studied hotel management, and I figured out after spending some time in England and the US and New York City, that the hotel business wasn't really for me. So I joined a financial company. I thought, okay, that might be interesting. And I got interested in the 3 years I was there in IT, and so I organized several events to bring that financial partners into the IT environment, what IT could do for them, and got interested in that. And I joined an IT company there, and from there on, actually, I went to Microsoft. And then 2 years ago, actually, one of my good friends, he said, "Carel, we're doing something interesting. We're trying to create a platform for freelancers, to connect freelancers, all the freelancers in the world." It was very ambitious. And do you want to have a look and help us and see what we're doing, and from a marketing perspective and from a cloud perspective? So my background in Microsoft, I have many years, is of course cloud. Microsoft transitioned into the cloud. So sure, and that was back early 2015. And I got so excited, and long story short, I joined the company in November timeframe. And looking at the trends in the co-working industry, so big booming, and the WeWork stories, and the transition that the shared space is making to trying to get into the co-working as well, got me really interested. And seeing actually when they started doing this, is create this collaboration platform. And working from a co-working space in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, I visited, of course, many co-working spaces to find out what is it exactly, what is this co-working thing, and that got me really interested, and that's why I joined Bisner.
Awesome. And so I find it interesting that they were trying to create a platform for freelancers to connect freelancers, sort of like a competitor to Odesk, then.
It's interesting. So one step back, actually, when they tried to create this collaboration tool, they got in contact with the organizer of Co-working Europe, Jean-Yves Rouard. And they invited them. I wasn't there, but they invited both Chris, the co-founders, Chris and Stefan, to go to Milan and meet with many co-working founders and co-working owners and operators. And they showed the product, what they have. So this is really great, but can you create a white label solution for us? This is what we've been looking for a long time. It is not quite there yet, but can you create something? So working with quite a few co-working spaces who were interested, saying, okay, sure, we can do this. And so working in partnership with quite a few back in Europe, mainly in Europe at that time, we created actually the version we have today. So we launched the first version in the after testing and piloting in the February, March timeframe. And now we're issue a few iterations or releases further. And we're now basically in around 55, 60 spaces.
Wow, that's a good amount.
So it's really the feedback we got from a co-working conference, feedback from co-working spaces, and then work in partnership with them to make it better and where we are today.
Yeah, and so rather than pivot and change, you really just add it because you're still
Correct.
Serving a community of freelancers and helping them to collaborate.
Correct. Yeah.
But you're also serving the co-working.
It's well based on the experience with the co-working Europe, and of course also Juicy. You mentioned Juicy earlier, where we attended in May. Based on their feedback, saying, "Hey, can you create something, for us?" Mm-hmm. It's a similar story to what Mark Culbreth yesterday said at Liquid Space. That the shared spaces asked him, "Hey, can you build this for us?" Mm-hmm. And we already built something, but then the question was, "Hey, can you tailor it to co-working spaces?" Right. And so that's what we see as our first channel, or to get to a broader audience. But we see the co-working world, the co-working space as the first channel to reach out to a broader community. Mm-hmm. And it's right now. It's when you look at Bisner, it's a very closed, right? It's for that particular co-working space only. The social platform, as we see in the community, but you can think of make it broader, make it public. You can think about virtual co-working, for instance, that who aren't really members of your space, who are actually physically in your space, mm-hmm. but want to still connect to your space and want to attend, say, events or webinars that you're organizing. So give them the opportunity to become a virtual member.
Right. Many spaces have community memberships or virtual memberships. So as far as the platform goes, what does it mean to collaborate? Is this like Basecamp for co-working, or
the first I think important part is the community. The community part is that you as a co-working space, it makes it easier, I think, to connect or to foster communication with your members. But on the other side is also for the members to make it easier to connect, to make that first connection, for instance, and then start actually making interesting conversations, mm-hmm. Even if it's open conversations or private conversations, because there's a chat functionality. And you and I talked about this earlier this week, right? We said, okay, community is all about one-on-one, human interaction. That's the thing that's most important. But there is, sometimes you need a tool or something to make it easier to make that first step, to connect with someone you don't know. Mm-hmm. Or to give an example of our own experience in Rotterdam, which is people argue if it's a co-working space, yes or no. It's more hybrid. It's called H&K, Nieuwe Kantoor, the new office, and they have 14 locations, 30,000 members. But the location we are in is they have more private offices and a smaller, commons area. But it was hard to find, certain skill sets. So, mm-hmm. and we as a startup from 2014, of course, we're always looking for resources, right? To professional services and some legal advice or communication advice or and back then we were looking for a video production company, for instance, and we couldn't find one there because there was no way to find out who was there in the 750 members. And so we also thought, okay, it should be an easier way, to find and connect with companies in this building. And so that's why, Bisner started adding new features and the request also from one of the customers we have, ECE, which is the Erasmus Center for Entrepreneurship in Rotterdam. They also use it to, bring business to other members in the community. Mm-hmm. And an example was that one of the startups there at the center, they got a project, but they didn't have the bandwidth to do it. And so they reached out to other members in the community saying, hey guys, this is a very interesting project, who is interested, and contact us. So this is all ways to share, right? Share new opportunities, share your knowledge, share your experience.
So in many of my conversations with many members over the past 8 years, we've asked members, what is the most powerful part of this, and what else can we do for you? And people want to be able to have a way to connect to know who's in the space, mm-hmm. to be able to find somebody when they're looking for them, or to find a specific type of service or industry when they're looking for that. And at the same time, they never want to lose that human element,
Correct.
that high touch element that the community manager offers, where, you know, in a very community driven space, you walk up to the community manager and you ask them, who here is a Ruby on Rails developer? I'm looking for a Rails developer. And, you know, she says, oh yeah, you know, Bob over there is a Rails developer. And by the way, he happens to be a cyclist, just like you. I'll make an introduction. And that sort of trust in sort of the in crowd, or the exclusive club kind of feeling that you have when you are a member of a co-working space. You sort of give a little bit of trust already to somebody, even if you don't necessarily know them. And so how do you recommend, you know, when somebody's getting set up on the platform and they're a newer co-working space, how do you recommend to them how to use the platform along with the already understood community best practices that we were just discussing?
It's well, I was interested in your session yesterday about community and community manager, and that the community manager, you know, so many things to do, right? Juggling and trying to get stuff done that day, but, you know, but not to worry too much about, okay, I can get it done and do it tomorrow. That reminds me of one of the, you know, the interviews you had with Rebecca. And I take Rebecca or Kovo as an example, who was using Bisner. And they have a great community manager, Alex. And he, I mean, yes, he knows, I think he knows everybody, but it takes a lot of his plate actually to have a tool they're using right now to easily communicate back to their members, and to also instruct members or teach the members to start using the platform. And for instance, one of the things in the platform is the weekly or even the daily digest. So he selects posts from the feed, so people who are posting stuff about new opportunities, or, you know, my dog, or interesting or, you know, trivial things, and he triggers the community to, you know, respond, even like a post or make a comment, for instance. And I think that's part of the duties, what it sounds like, but you know, the community manager to make that happen. And it doesn't go, I mean, overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. And what I told you earlier is there's all this 80-20 rule, and we found out actually the spaces. Now we're in, you know, basically globally, not only in the US or Europe, but also in APAC, Asia Pacific. People use it in a different way, and some spaces are, you know, they jump on it right away. People are way more comfortable in posting information, ask questions, create groups in there, organize events. Others are a little bit reluctant and wait and see. So the 80% looking and, you know, absorbing the information, and the 20% is very active.
And I can see, you know, it's interesting because the term community manager is obviously a sort of a buzz term these days in co-working, but also it is a buzz term in that, you know, community manager, what most people think of as a community manager is really more of an online community manager, social media, oftentimes part of a marketing department for a big company or a big brand. And the skill set is a very different skill set, actually. It's similar, you know, of course you need to be able to like people and want to be helpful and those kinds of things, but bringing people together in real life, you know, you're really much more of a tour guide, or a love Julie from Love Boat, you know. Then
it's been a long time.
Then you are, you know, somebody who's managing you know, conversations in the digital medium. And so what types of what type of support do you offer, or potentially, you know, documented best practices around how to build the online community and build engagement? Because it can be hard. You can't just build it and they'll come.
And it's we'll learn as we go, right? And that's the you know, the question from Kovo as well, another space, how help me to make it sticky. And how do we do this? And so we're trying to collect the best practices from an EC in Rotterdam, from, you know, other customers like Kleinhandel in Rotterdam and B Amsterdam, and also that, you know, I talked to you about the space in Seoul, for instance, and try to collect that information and to, you know, get it into back practice. And I mean, there's no one size fits all, right?
No.
You have to, okay, that might work for my space, or that doesn't work for my space.
Yeah, or only some people.
And we're not there yet. We're trying.
Yeah.
We also think about setting sort of, community or sort of, monthly best practice webinar, for instance. And that was one of the ideas that also came up in the discussions with one of the space in Rotterdam, saying, hey, more than happy to, to help and to share my best practice. And so back to my point earlier, yes, we're a startup, we're young, we're, the focus is on developing and make it tool, robust and scalable, and create that base. And now we're in the stage that, okay, we have to share best practice and to show the space how to easily, onboard the people, onboard the members, and then how to do it.
And so let's dive into some technical information now. So is this an open community? And by that, I mean, if I sign my space up for Bisner, are my members now part of a larger network of members? Okay.
No, that was also one of the requests. And it doesn't mean that we're not going there to make it open. There's two ways. One is, okay, we want to have a close community and I control who can be on my platform. So that's what it is today. So it's the white label, private, basically. It's you sign up as a member and you're part of that community. There's nobody else who can go in there unless you become a member of the space. But there are, what I said earlier about virtual co-working, for instance, I'm not necessarily, physical in that space, but I want to be part of the community. That's another thing we're looking at right now. And that was one of the requests also from, the space in Bali and some other companies there. But you can think of connecting, space. So if I want to move from one space to another, but I will still want to be connected with this space, but also with the other one. How do we make that happen? So there's a lot of discussion how to make it open. And so right now we have all our individual databases, right? So it's very close, it's very private, it's very secure. And you have to think about it. Are we going to make it one big, huge database, and how do we secure it? How make it very private? But yes, their discussions are there. The discussions are with, overarching organizations, co-working organizations, for instance. How can we make it open? How can we connect the members or the member spaces? We're not there yet.
Well, I know, I think of an example like CoShare. We would love to have a way to connect our members and have forums that are dedicated to our members, but also be part of a larger network.
Correct.
One of the reasons that we haven't built our own forums is we don't want to displace or compete with, the Google group and the Co-working Leadership Slack channel, and where the conversations are already happening, because those are where the valuable conversations are happening, and we don't want to sort of go away from that. But if we could somehow all be on one platform, having conversations there, but also have subgroups, that would be super powerful. Would love to see that.
But it's an interesting thing, right? So we have that's a while ago, discussion with Lexi, for instance. One of the things came up there too, can I connect my members then? My member, spaces. And one of the other things that came up, there was another discussion, what if, hey, I'm here, I want to go to Hong Kong and join a space, I have no idea where to go or who is in that space. Wouldn't it be great if I have the ability to log in or to get access and connect with someone in the space? Hey, I'm going to be there for a week, or the digital nomads, friend. We talked about it also. So they're here, they're there, they're everywhere. It would be great if they can make that first connection, saying I'm going to be there, who is, have similar interests, or that's a very interesting
or I'm
discussion.
looking for my next co-living space. So what is your pricing model?
Thank you. That's also, part of the startup thing, right? So we went through many iterations of the pricing model, and also working with Covo and other spaces. What do you think? We looked at other SaaS companies, the big ones like the Microsofts or the Adobes or the Evernotes or the Slack, et cetera, and then the feedback we got was, okay, we don't think a user model will be great or is working. It's more like a tiered model. So what we've done today, actually, we have a tiered model. So 1 to 35 members, 36 to 80, 81 to 150, 151 to 250, 250 to 500, and then 500 and above, which is big. So that's how we price our business platform for community and collaboration. And that starts at $69 for the 1 to 35, goes up to $149, $249, $349, $449. And if you want the mobile apps on iOS or Android, you pay an additional $150.
I see. So as a single, maybe I have one single space. So as a single co-working operator, I could get an app for my co-working space. So you would provide that app.
Correct. So what I said earlier. It's a white label one. It looks like it's your, the look and feel of your co-working space with your logos, with your coloring, everything is your pictures, your photos, your images, and then there's on top of that. So that's the web part, right? And then there's the app. So whether you have iOS for Apple iOS or you have the Android. So and that's also white label. And so you have the look and feel of your.
Yeah. And so what if I'm a multi-space operator and I want to have my members all connected in one big community, but they want to also have local communities? Are subgroups, can members form their own subgroups, or is that an admin function? How does that work?
That's a good question. You can actually have multiple locations in the overall community. So you can see, okay, I'm in Rotterdam, or I'm in Dordrecht. So one of the examples is where we are, a member at the new office. They have 14 locations. So we start with, two or three locations as the pilot first. So you can pick and choose what location you are, but you can also see the overall. So you can say, I see all the members and then I can see actually, I'm in location Rotterdam, I'm in location Amsterdam, I'm in location Dordrecht, for instance.
Okay.
But it's not necessarily you have this. If I understand your question correctly, separate the two or the three?
Yeah. So, let's just use like a meetup as an example. So, often co-working spaces allow their members to handle a lot of sort of the evening programming that happens, or, to sponsor meetups in the space if they benefit the community. Or, members will join, will group together and create a bicycling team or a running team. And to make those things happen, it's really nice to have a way to connect. And if everybody's already connecting on Bisner, it would be, I would see it as very beneficial if they could also create a subgroup, like
so in that way, yes, you can.
So you can create cycling group.
Correct. So you can. That's what I said. I think earlier. Did I say that? You can create your own groups, for instance, own interest groups. And saying, okay, for Rotterdam or for Vegas, whatever, I create my own group here. We're interested in cycling or skiing, which is Vegas, I'm not sure. But anyway, but you can set up your own groups. You can also set up your own meetups, for instance. You can, and it depends on as a community manager or as an operator, what you want to do. Do you want to give the members the freedom to organize, or do you want to manage the events or the meetups? And we got several requests saying, I want to be in control. And there are other spaces saying, that's fine. They can organize whatever they want.
Yeah.
So yes, you can have separate groups. Correct.
You can do that. You can do either or. As at that top admin level, you can control either, depending on what your brand is, whether or not your members create it or your admins do. That's wonderful.
And also you can make it open, right? So everybody can see it, or you can make it a private thing. So you have to invite, if you're the organizer of a meetup or a group, you can set it to open, everybody can join, or you can make it private.
Right.
So you can say, okay, I'm going to invite, Iris or invite Liz or whoever, and they can join my group, and I control who's part of the group.
Nice. So, is there a free trial if I was going to sign
Absolutely.
up? Okay.
The more the better.
Okay. And how long does that free trial last? How long can I kind of bang around inside and see how it works? And can I add members in that free trial?
Yeah, you can do whatever you
want.
So it's standard is the 30-day trial.
Okay.
But we understand also that sometimes 30 days is not enough.
Yeah.
We see it especially with new spaces.
Yeah.
We have some examples that the plan was to open in July, and then it was delayed to August, and delayed to September, and then delayed to October. I said, okay, that's fine. Take your time. But yes, the standard is 30 days, but we also understand there are also situations you don't control, and we're not going to be harsh and shut it down.
Yeah.
So I always say, go to the website, go to Bisner.com. We're in the process right now to completely revamp our website. Which customer testimonials, it's easier to navigate. You can sign up through the website, we'll create a white label specifically for your organization, for your co-working space, fully customized, and you get admin rights, and you can add as many members as you want. And what we also do, it's probably also part of your questions, do you integrate with other systems? So we do have the integration of cobots, for instance.
Okay.
And to one step back, we don't focus on the membership, management or the co-working management tools.
Right. So you don't
focus on the social
or keep a CRM or a member record management.
Fully focused on the community, on the social part. I think there are great players out there like a Cobot or a Nexus, a Satellite Deskwork, for instance. You can integrate with. So the first part we've done, the integration of Cobot, and now we're working on Nexus as well. Because there was requests, hey, can you integrate with Nexus? So we're working on that. We're not there yet. I think almost. And the next steps, we're going to contact Covo. Actually introduced us to Satellite Deskwork as well, with Barbara Springer, I think her name is. And so we try to, have that discussion, saying where can we integrate? How can we complement each other?
That's wonderful.
And so to add to that, then it's easier. So if you add members to your Covo platform and Nexus Satellite Deskwork, you can easily, upload them right into Bisner. And then going forward, it automatically syncs. So if you add a member into the Covo system, it automatically gets into Bisner.
Awesome, super sexy. Do you offer a discount or free service to nonprofits?
That's also a very good question. We haven't thought about that.
Okay.
But I'll take that. That's a good one.
Yeah. I ask for two reasons. I think that, there's plenty of nonprofit co-working spaces out there. And then I see your tool as something that could be used by organizations too, nonprofit organizations, like, the local museum.
Yeah.
Who want to really connect with their members in much the same way that a co-working community does. Like, for instance, where I live in Santa Cruz, our local museum of art and history is the person who recently took over the executive director mantle is really, really active in involving the community. It's a very experiential museum at this point. And so there's a lot of family activities. Kind of every weekend there's a family activity.
Yeah.
And, of course, the outreach is all through email at this point. And so it would be wonderful to see this type of application in use in those type of communities as well. So I see a lot of opportunities.
And email's so outdated, right? Ask the kids.
Right.
I know.
Yeah.
No, you're right. That's a very good one. And I'll take that up and we'll have that discussion. It's a very good one.
So in terms of signing up and getting started, what kind of steps are people looking at? Is there, you mentioned that you'll white label and you'll build it out to brand. Is there a startup cost for that, or is it just the flat fee? Okay.
No, you sign up through the website, provide your name, what you're looking for, and we'll, get in touch with you. And we create your white label URL, or you can even have a customized URL. Whatever you want. Usually it's like gwa.bisner.com, or we use our own tool as our own. It's the way we work, right, on the Bisner platform. We collaborate, communicate. We try to avoid email as much as we can. And it's so easy with the apps, to the notifications, the push notifications you can get. It's very easy to sign up through the website, create your URL. And what we usually do is, if you want to have the time, have a short call and walk you through, what the platform is, and then we go from there.
Wonderful. What else do you want to tell us today about Bisner?
The cool thing is we didn't really touch on the collaboration piece. More the community
I had some questions about that. We're just at the end of our time.
Okay,
so.
But it's another interesting feature you can turn on or off. What we've seen so far is that most of the spaces so far want to focus on the community first, and so they turned off the collaboration piece. But that's an interesting one too, where you can actually, as a member of the space, as a small company or a freelancer, you can set up your own private workspaces. So if I work with you together on a project, if I'm a translator, whatever, I can set up a private workspace with you. So we can collaborate and work on share files, for instance, share notes. We can, work together on certain projects. That's another, I think, interesting piece.
That is a really interesting. I'm sorry that we don't have more time to cover that today.
Or we can set up another.
We can. I've kind of got a full roster for the rest of the year, but I'm happy to talk, again, when you guys, I'd love to see where you're at in, let's say 6 months to a year. Yeah. So what's next for you?
Like I said earlier, the integrations are really important. So, the cobots next to this, the satellite desk work, and we always, we're looking into, okay, what can we integrate? I mean, I said earlier, we don't want to, reinvent the wheel. We don't want to do everything. It's more like, how can we easily connect with other great tools that are out there that are valuable for co-working spaces or shared office space. So that's the focus. That's one. And the other thing, of course, is make the platform better. So the more feedback we get, the better. We got a lot of requests, and Cova is an example, or the other spaces in Rotterdam or in APAC. More features. How can we make the life easier? It doesn't necessarily mean that we're gonna implement it overnight. Of course, we create our list and say if it benefits all the spaces, yes, absolutely, gets on top of the list. Is if it's only you, and you really want it, but you know what? We have to think about, make it scalable and make it useful for everyone. And of course, we're looking at other ways. So the co-working space is first, but how can we, to your point earlier, musea or church community, how can we, universities, how can we actually use the platform to, broader? And also, you never know, corporations. There's discussions going on during conference right now, corporate co-working, which is really interesting. So we're looking at all sorts of opportunities. But first thing first, it's a co-working world.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And again, thanks for your patience with our technical difficulties here in the hotel today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
And thank you for listening and watching today. And I look forward to talking with you next week from Juicy Canada in Montreal. And I will be interviewing a guest who is at the conference there. We'll be talking about their experience at Juicy. So have a wonderful week. Keep being your awesome self. And changing the world as you are, and we'll see you next time.